Hi guys, Andy and Spoken Label on a Sunday night. Yes, this is a special episode today. What are you doing with a bonus? Because I've got a gentleman with me today, and I've met this gentleman last time was a few years ago. But he knows a lot of friends of mine, and I count him as a mate because he's a great guy. We've got the fantastic Tuesday Tony with us today. Now, Tony, we were trying to work out before when we last met. It was about 5 or 6 years ago, wasn't it?
Maybe more now. It was a while ago, relatively, yeah. Definitely pre-pandemic.
Way pre-pandemic, yeah.
But yeah, 5 or 6 years ago, yeah, I reckon.
He's like, what I love about Tony when he's listening today is the fact he's basically, it's like Spoken Label is in a way where he basically, people say about Spoken Label, I make my own opportunities with this podcast by getting people on the chat. Tony's been running a mostly weekly night now in Manchester, haven't you, for years now? So, which is some going, yeah.
But 22 years it is now.
22 years now. God, mate. Years. Now, this is going to age me parents now. I didn't think you were that old, mate, actually. It shows you now, really. God. Now, obviously, Tony, before we talk about your night, because we're here to talk about that, really, because there's a big relaunch coming shortly. Tell people, obviously, a very little bit about yourselves, first of all, so we can give a flavour for what you are as a person, then talk about your night.
Absolutely. I was born in Southeast London. I moved up to Salford to do my music degree. That's when I became involved with the Thirsty Scholar 22 years ago.
Incredible.
There was a night running on a Thirsty Scholar on a Tuesday, and I went down to sound engineer a friend of mine's band, like as a favour. And their sound engineer on the night, sort of something happened and he had to go and he went off. And they were like, oh, we need someone to sound engineer. It's like, okay, it's all right, buy me a few drinks and I'll sound engineer. And then ended up doing the night. And then from that, I was sound engineering for those guys and ended up running the thing by the end of it. So
obviously the clue for Tony here is it's Tuesday because the night's on a Tuesday. But when did people start calling you Tuesday Tony?
That was it, Martin the Mod. If anyone's familiar with the Thirsty Scholar, you should absolutely know Martin the Mod. He's the chef, DJ, all around wonderful madman of the Thirsty Scholar, and he insists that he created me from 2 pieces of broccoli and a bus ticket to Bolton. I think that's the legend that he tells it.
Oh, well, it's probably a better story in some ways than the truth sometimes.
Print the myth.
Yes, I'm always a believer in that. I think Tony Wilson said, stick to the myth. It makes more cash, right? So definitely that. But obviously, like I said, we're here obviously about the Thirsty Scholar. Because like, beside you, obviously, you were telling me before, like I didn't know you nearly complete a rap album. I knew you've done poetry. You do all kinds of things, don't you? Really? So, like I said, but obviously, the Thirsty Scholar is your big night, really, isn't it, nowadays?
It is, yeah. A while ago, I was doing events sort of all over Manchester, and then just the way things transpired, we sort of obviously started off at the Scholar, and the way it's worked out, we sort of consolidated all these sort of other nights into one place. The big difference from now and then is we now have 2 floors. We have the upstairs as well. So we have the music and the poetry and the magic. We occasionally have magic on as well. And
I didn't know that.
Be downstairs.
I didn't know you had magic on. Oh wow.
We do, yeah. I've got magic coming up in March. I have to pull the date up, but my good friend Dean Williamson be coming down to perform some magic in March. He often does. It's great actually, because he'll work a new trick, and before he goes to do it sort of like in front of like a huge audience, he'll come and do it a couple of times for us, and it's kind of nice. You get sort of like the big sort of like magic show, but just happening in your local pub, which is
that's fantastic, mate. Oh, brilliant. Now obviously I've been down to Zombies Shack a few times actually. I love that venue as well. So obviously, like when I first met you years ago, it was just a 30 Scholar. What's made things happen to bring the Zombie Shack into it as well then for you?
Well, 10 years ago this year.
You're joking, 10 years? Oh my God.
10 years ago this year, I bumped into, I ran into a comic called Robson Eric. He was a really funny guy, and he used to come and perform at the Tiger Lounge open mic as a stand-up comic. And long story short, on one Tuesday, I had no acts. All of my acts had cancelled. So I'd rang up Robson and said, look, mate, if you want to come down, you can have as much stage time as you want tonight. I've got no one else on. He's like, I'll bring a few friends from my uni course, right? He brought down 12 comedians with him that night. 12 comedians. And one of them was Jamali Maddox.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jamali does the show on Vice, sort of Hate Thy Neighbor. And he was on, a couple of years ago, he was on live at the Apollo. But yeah, sort of my first foray into putting on comedy, and then have these, and I tell you what, not just him, but everyone was fantastic, and they were so sort of young, go-getting comics. I said, I tell you what, if you want, we'll do this once a month. And we'll open the Zombie Shack and we'll sort of put on a monthly thing. And there's just been so much demand for comedy that we've over the years, we've realized that we've easily put it on a weekly open mic comedy night. So I've always had the music. So now we just had music, comedy, and I'm quite into, obviously, I was quite into my poetry and spoken word as well. So I thought, well, let's include that. Let's make one open mic for everyone, rather than all these different segregated nights.
It's incredible that, man. I knew you're doing both of them, because I think of stuff like, obviously we run our own night ourselves up in Cholton, and ours is monthly. But you're like, it always amazes me, people like yourself that do weekly. But now you're booking like 2 lots of weekly ones in one night. And it's absolutely incredible, that is, mate. I don't know how you do it, mate, honestly.
It's been quite helpful the last few. I've not been well the last few weeks. I've been sort of like laid up in bed, and that's allowed me to sort of do a lot of planning all in one go, actually, which was quite nice. And it's normally just open mic, and every now and then I'll book something. But I thought, no, we'd taken the opportunity. The actor had come away from the Scholar for a month in January, hence the little relaunch. We weren't going anywhere. There wasn't any plans. Just needed to take a little break. Come back from this break, and it's sort of like, oh wow, now I've got stuff booked up till sort of until April, and so much great things. I'm sort of really looking forward to
Obviously, tell us about them, what you've got planned for this then, and obviously people, because I know you're here today, you want people to be aware of it, and also get people to read, don't you, and perform and whatever. So tell us about then what plans you got for this and what's going forward.
Well, sort of like the next show that we've got coming up would be we've got the launch show on the 31st, but the next big show after that will be the 7th. And we've got music from the Wrong Signals and sort of special guest MC Jacob Harmon. The following week is our Valentine's Day special, Valentine's Day.
Oh, switching time.
Got Midland Railway, a band that have played for me a few times over many, many years. And we've started doing something, I'll be careful with my words, but sort of we call it half karaoke, right?
Oh yeah.
Sort of like, and what we do is sort of at the end of the night, once all the performers have finished, so we play some records. People can suggest the records, but we keep the microphone up on stage, and if someone wants to come and sing along to the record, they can. And what obviously ends up devolving is just essentially a half karaoke session that's going on. But I tell you what, it is fun. It's super fun. So we're kind of doing that. So for Valentine's Day, it's going to be the Singleton sing-along. That was
brilliant.
On the 21st of February, we've got Annabelle be our special guest comedy MC, and we've got a secret music act that night. I can't say too much about it, but it'll be a secret special guest. And on the 28th, we've got Stephen Armstrong from Fab Radio, comic and DJ. He's going to be sort of taking over, and live music from Pete Jackson as well. So we've got brilliant, and so much more in the pipeline for the next few months.
Yeah, sounds brilliant. Obviously, you want other people to come along and read and perform, don't you? So, say for example, we had a 2-piece band wanted to come along and perform for you. If they contacted you, what would you like to be and say to them? Come along, you do 20 minutes or something, or?
Yeah, absolutely. If it was something we can set up, all depend on how many open mic acts show up on the night. Yeah, absolutely. If a band showed up on the day and I could get them set up, yeah, of course I'd get them on for as long as I possibly could, is what I'd say. Sort of like at least 3 songs.
Yeah, and obviously that'd be the same, obviously, like for poets and rap artists, basically, wouldn't it, as well? So you try and look at give them as long as you could, then basically, wouldn't you? So
yeah, absolutely. With a poet, sort of like, providing that they're not sort of reading something that goes on for half an hour or what have you, and they're sort of like, say like three poems, 3 songs, 15, maybe 20 minutes, what have you. Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, of course. And tell us about the comic side of it then, basically. So that'd be somewhat similar, basically, wouldn't you? For any comics that want to come along to perform, wouldn't they, in the Zombie Shack?
We do. We'd love to issue every single open mic comic a 20-minute slot. But that's just It's more along the lines of 5 minutes. They have a sort of they have 5 minute slots, but yeah, it's great. It's again, everything's sort of what they sort of go up and show up format. You can show up on the night, put your name on a list, and you on one of the stages you'll end up performing. And the same with the comedy. The guys come down, sign up, and then we get them on when we're ready to.
Brilliant. What I admire you is the fact you've got 2 nights going on there. You must be like a Jack in the Box running up and down between both points, make sure everything's going all right sometimes.
It's a good cardio workout because, like, you know, it's all stairs, it's sort of 2 levels, you know, it's fine. But I'm sort of very lucky. I get support, and when they have like a guest MC come down, they'll you know, sort of the people that have come and MC'd for me in the past, and the ones that I've got booked up before, and they've never let me down. You know, I don't have to, you know, it's in safe hands with them.
But now saying what you do, like you build a team of people that was going to work with you. Yeah, no, Sandy, good luck, man. Definitely, so as always. Now, obviously, when the night starts every Tuesday, when does it start?
The sign up is from 7 o'clock, and we try and get started as soon as possible after that, really. So sort of in an ideal world, 7:30. Sometimes we don't live in an ideal world, but yeah, ideally about 7:30.
Yeah, and obviously then, like, you'd obviously recommend people to come in and sign up for the night to get there as quick as you can, and basically, don't you, as I would say.
Absolutely, get down for the sign up. Just because as well, I don't know if anyone runs events, you sort of want to make sure that everyone who's going on stage knows when they're going on stage, and you've clapped eyes on them. You know they're definitely there, and they've got all their equipment. And yeah, so yeah, come down with everything you might need to perform at 7 o'clock, and you'll be just fine.
Perfect with me. That makes it brilliant. Okay, then the last question off. So second to last question. This is obviously, if people wish to book a slot and then say they book it in advance, how would you recommend they get to contact you?
They can reach out to me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Tuesday Tony William Bolton. Tuesday Tony William Bolton.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, right. If you tap in Tuesday Tony, you'll see me come up on Facebook. Sort of and send me a message on Messenger. You can also contact the venue directly. There it's inquiries at Thirsty Scholar, the email address, or the phone number is 0161 236 6071. Like
that's impressive off the top of your head there, mate. That's really impressive. You're like, I'm just thinking the only phone numbers I know off the top of my head is me and my wife's. No chance of anybody else's.
I've worked there for 22 years and they've not changed the number, so I don't really have an excuse.
Fair enough. Well, I say you should know it by now, mate. If you don't, you're never going to know it, definitely, mate. So brilliant, mate. Well, that's all my questions anyway, mate. So I want to thank you today, mate. And if people are wondering, Tony will be back in April, and we're going to go through a much more in-depth history about Tony, because I've got a lot of stuff I want to know about him, right? So, and I'm going to go and speak to my friend Keith, who we both know in the meantime, and Keith's going to give me a list of like 30 things I can ask him about, I hope, right?
I'm sure, yeah, ask Keith. I'm sure he'll word you up, absolutely.
He will, and he'll probably give me all these really awkward things I can ask you just to make you blush on the day.
Well, we've had 22 years is a long time.
Oh yeah, completely, mate. Well, can I ask you?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Andy.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. So, been a pleasure, buddy. Hang around, because I do need to talk to you off mic anyway. So, been a pleasure, mate, today. So, as Don Callis at Impact Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over. And we will see you all next time.